Hello everyone. If you are an Atlassian app vendor, an Atlassian solution partner, or you are exploring how to add robo or AI capabilities into your apps and services, this video is for you. In this session, I'm going to walk you through the 7 most important considerations an AI tool developer must understand before offering their tools to regulated industries. Here's the thing, regulated industries are not anymore just a niche. A decade ago, regulated meant just medical devices, pharma, or aerospace. Today, almost every industry operates under some form of compliance framework, be it privacy laws, cybersecurity regulations, AI governance rules, safety standards, audit requirements, or internal responsible AI policy. That means your customers across different domains all face expectations around traceability, auditability, safety, data governance, and now AI oversight. And while these customers want AI, they're excited about having AI, they also must treat AI tools they use as part of their compliance chain, not just convenience features. See, if you want your AI-enabled marketplace app or robo solution to be usable in these environments, or if you want to sell confidently to customers who have auditors, regulators, and internal governance committees, then these specific steps are for you when you're building or updating your AI tools. What I'm going to walk you through today is based on a webinar from last week that Softcomply ran together with a partner Orthogonal, where we broke down exactly what regulated teams require from AI tools that they use in software development and what AI tool vendors must provide to meet those expectations. But let's get into it. I have drawn a little diagram here as well so that we won't get lost in the many things that are expected from an AI tool developer. The very first thing that AI tool developers need to understand is this. In regulated industries, AI tools are not treated as a convenience feature. They are treated as a compliance impacting component of the software development lifecycle. When a medical device company, pharma team, automotive manufacturer, aerospace group, or even a financial institution uses AI tools during development, the AI's output can directly influence their safety requirements, their risk analysis, verification and validation test cases, source code in safety-critical modules, controlled documents, and so on and so forth. And when AI influences these deliverables, the consequences of a mistake are far more serious than a buggy Jira ticket or a messy Confluence page, right? An AI error there during development could lead to a patient injury, a failed audit, a regulatory nonconformity, or a recall. And that's why the regulated companies must define clearly and defensively how the AI assists them and where humans remain fully accountable. Basically, they need to document what the AI is intended to do and what the AI is not allowed to do, what needs human review, where AI can be safely used, and what parts of the workflow AI must never touch. This becomes part of the quality management system, their tool validation, and their audit trail. But what does that mean to us, Atlassian partners and AI tool developers? Basically, if we want teams in these industries to adopt our AI-powered marketplace apps or robo integrations, we must help meet these expectations. That means that we should provide them a clear intended use description. It is a short, explicit statement describing what our AI feature or tool does and what does it not do, and what decisions require human review. Our customers will put this directly into the QMS. Second, there should be transparency about where AI appears in the workflow. We need to tell our customers which features use AI, which fields AI may modify, which issue types or Confluence templates AI may touch, and where humans must stay in control. Regulated teams must map AI influence to their development processes. Next, a high-level explanation of how suggestions are generated. This has nothing to do with your proprietary information about how the model works. It should be just enough to satisfy governance and auditors about which model or provider you're using. Are you building on Rovo, OpenAI, Anthropic, something else? How is the context retrieved? Whether outputs are deterministic or may vary, and whether any fine-tuning or routing occurs. Auditors need this to evaluate whether the tool is functioning in a predictable and a safe manner. Next, regulated customers must validate their tools. So they need to describe how stable the AI's behavior is, whether prompts produce consistent results, what factors may cause output variation, and how often underlying models may change. And this determines whether to trust the AI tool in their safety-critical workflows. If you cannot provide these things about your AI tool, then regulated companies might not be able to adopt your tool. But if you do provide them, there is something much more there than just the regulated industries. Your app becomes more attractive to enterprise customers, even those not traditionally regulated, because all of them are building AI governance frameworks today. The first step is the foundation for everything else. If you, as an AI tool developer, get this part right, you immediately open the door to every industry that needs responsible, explainable, and auditable AI. Consideration number 2. One of the biggest challenges for regulated industries adopting AI development tools is the pace of model evolution. LLMs update frequently, often silently, and sometimes in ways that change model behavior. And this is great for innovation, but a nightmare for regulatory validation. Because regulated teams need to demonstrate the consistency, traceability, predictability, repeatability, and control behavior, because they must validate that the AI tool does what it is intended to do. That is the core requirement in most regulated industries, validation. But when LLMs are evolving constantly, tuning refinements happen, safety patches occur, new capabilities are rolled out, models are auto-upgrading, optimization may shift behavior unexpectedly. All of those things make it very difficult for regulated industries to run validations. So instead of something impossible like model freezing, AI tool developers must provide traceable, transparent, and controlled evolution. And that enables regulated customers to manage risk, plan revalidation, and defend their AI usage during audits. So things that we can do in AI tool development, we could support version releases of the AI model or AI feature. The tool or feature should have explicit version numbers, stable behavior within a version, and upgrade events tied to version changes. And if your tool relies on upstream APIs, say OpenAI, Anthropic, or ROP, you should expose their model feature, communicate breaking changes, and notify the customer when behaviors are shifting. You should also have release notes that clearly explain what changed. Regulated teams need to know if the new version has behavioral changes, quality changes, known new limitations, bug fixes, or if there are any improvements affecting output characteristics. If you can't describe model changes fully because of, for example, upstream opacity, be transparent about that too. The more transparent you are, the better. Support regulated mode with slower update cadence, if possible. This is a major selling point for, and also a huge differentiator if you want to sell to regulated industries. Instead of updating AI models silently, weekly, or daily, offer customers the ability to choose stable regulated mode where updates are infrequent, breaking changes are announced, so that customers can revalidate. If possible, support replicated models that are a little longer. Most regulated organizations will accept slower innovation for predictable compliance. Frozen or semi-frozen model options, where possible, allow customers to freeze a model version for a development cycle and prevent auto-switching to new upstream models. This doesn't mean that the model never changes. It means customers control when it changes. And this is extremely important for risk management, validation, reproducibility, and submission traceability. And honest limitations, it's very often overlooked by vendors, but it is amazingly helpful for regulated industries. A regulated customer of yours needs to document what AI cannot do reliably, what are the known bias areas, what are the typical hallucination scenarios, what are the use cases where AI is not suitable for, and what are the model weaknesses in certain domains. If you could put together a limitations page that becomes their risk catalog or validation reference, that would be amazing for them. Don't fear listing any weaknesses. Regulated customers trust vendors who are transparent more than vendors who pretend their model has no weakness. And transparency about training data and fine-tuning policies. Customers need to have clarity on whether customer data is used for training, preferably not. What data sources were used to train the base model, whether you use proprietary or third-party models, any data isolation policies that you have in place, fine-tuning logic, and any domain-specific tuning if you apply any. The more clear and honest you are, the easier it is for the customer to go through an audit. And third big thing is the human in the loop. In regulated industries, AI can assist, but the human has to decide. This is not a best practice. It's a requirement in various regulations and international standards that regulated industry companies need to comply with. When AI generates content that influences requirements, risks, tests, clinical evidence, documentation, or traceability across software development lifecycle, then a human must review, understand, approve, and be accountable for the final output. AI may draft, but humans have to decide. During audits and inspections, reviewers will ask, who reviewed this AI-generated content and how do you know that the review happened? This means companies must produce hard evidence showing who reviewed each AI suggestion with name, role, and timestamp, what was accepted, which portion of the AI-generated text or code were kept, what was rejected, which content was modified or discarded, why, rationale, comments, or any notes would help, and how AI suggestions influence the final artifact. That means traceable change history. If customers cannot produce that, auditors may declare the output unverifiable, unvalidated, or unsafe. And that can lead to non-conformities or even product delays. And this puts the responsibility of AI tool developers to supply features that make human oversight demonstrable. As an AI tool developer, what could you do to help your customer? First of all, the AI outputs that your tool provides must never auto-apply. Instead, the AI tools need to have a staging area where AI suggestions appear. User actions, accept, reject, edit and accept, discard should be there. Mandatory review steps for safety-critical content if necessary, and approval chains if required. For example, your quality manager sign-off or something like that. And this ensures the AI cannot silently influence regulated artifacts because there is a workflow for reviewing, approving, and rejecting AI suggestions. Second thing that is really important is to support a full audit trail. Every step must be logged by your AI tool, not just the final output. So your tool must track AI outputs, who reviewed them, what changes were made, what was the final decision and timestamp. And these audit trails become part of the customer's design history file or QMS evidence. And then provide diff views that compare AI suggestions to current content, because the regulated reviewers must clearly see what changed, what was proposed by the AI, and what was altered by the human. And this is essential for transparency and traceability. And finally, role-based permissions for AI actions. To prevent any misuse or enforce organizational policy, your tool must offer permissions, like a role for viewing AI suggestions only, or suggest new content only, or accepting and approving AI outputs. All of these type of permissions ensure that only authorized personnel can accept AI-generated items, that junior or untrained staff cannot bypass controls, and that AI usage aligns with QMS policies. If you build human oversight features, regulated companies will realize that you understand compliance and your AI tool is safe for them to use. Consideration number 4, AI tool developers will be treated like regulated suppliers. And that means that if your developed AI tool influences requirements, risks, verification, code tests, documents in the regulated industry, it becomes a part of the product lifecycle. And anything that becomes part of the product lifecycle is subject to supplier controls under various regulations and industry standards. That means that if your AI tool affects regulated work, your company becomes a critical supplier in the eyes of your customer's quality management system. Being a critical supplier means your customers must evaluate your security posture, your data handling, IP and training policies, your vulnerability and incident response management, and your model update processes. So what do you need to do about all those things that they want to evaluate? First, provide a security and compliance pack. It's a clear, concise set of documents that they can attach directly to the supplier file and show auditors. And what you can put in there is your SOC 2 or ISO 27001 certificate, or a roadmap if you don't have it yet. And with a roadmap, you can have a timeline, what controls you already have in place and what gaps remain. And this transparency gives customers confidence. You should have a formal data handling statement that answers questions like what data do you store, what data do you not store, do you log prompts, and are these logs anonymized? Do you use customer data for training? Must usually be a no. Where is the data stored and how is data deleted? And this document can be short, clear, and ready to go. You should also have IP protection and training data policy, because the regulated customers fear leakage of confidential IP and training contamination. And because of that, you should explicitly state in the policy how you protect custom IP, whether models train on customer data, again, usually should be a no, retention policies, isolation quarantines, subcontractor policies, and boundary controls. You should have a vulnerability management policy, because the auditors will ask your customer about how the security patches are handled and how quickly do you respond to emerging threats and how do you monitor CVs. And because of that, if you have a documented patching process, a monitoring strategy for vulnerabilities, internal SLAs for remediations, or evidence of past fixes, that all helps your customer to show that you are a trustworthy software supplier. You should also have an incident response procedure that explains how incidents are detected, how customers are notified, what are the timelines based on severity, and evidence of drills and internal testing. You should also have transparency on model deployment and update practices, because your client companies must track which model version was used, what changed in each version, when updates occurred, and whether the updates required a revalidation. And because of that, if you can provide them a stable release process, model versioning details, clear change logs, deprecation timelines, and guidance on how customers should revalidate after major updates, this would really help your customers prepare for audits. And if you had a regulated use FAQ for customers and their auditors, that would definitely simplify everything for your customers. This regulated use FAQ is like a single document that answers the following questions. Where does the AI run? What models does it use? How do you handle data? Does the AI access regulated content? Can customers restrict model usage? How do we validate your tool? And how are updates managed? If you fail to provide these materials, regulated companies cannot validate your tool very well and justify using their tool in the QMS or defend the tool in the audits. Consideration number 5, support incremental adoption of your AI. Regulated companies cannot adopt AI like consumer or enterprise teams do. They can't just flip a switch and turn on full autonomy. They can't deploy AI across all their organization on day one. And they absolutely cannot allow AI to modify safety-critical documentation requirements or risk controls without human oversight. Instead, regulated companies must adopt AI gradually, one workflow and one risk level at a time, and they begin with low-risk, human-verifiable tasks and only expand usage when they have demonstrated control, predictable behavior, consistent review, and no increase in defects or compliance risks. That is why incremental adoption is not optional. Even though AI is powerful, it will introduce validation complexity, change control obligations, safety risks, traceability concerns, unpredictable model behavior, and all of that results in auditor scrutiny. And that is why incremental adoption is expected by the regulated customers. As an AI tool developer, you must build tools that support this careful rollout. The customer will begin with low-risk use cases. As an AI tool vendor, you must build technical guardrails that allow customers to limit the AI to low-risk scenarios first and then later expand as confidence grows. So we can have feature toggles. The feature toggles that allow regulated customers to completely disable some AI ability in high-risk features. There could be a toggle to enable only low-risk features initially and progressively enable more functionality after validation. And there could also be an enable disable AI capability to turn off anything that auditors find problematic. Examples of these toggles could be, for example, AI for requirements, toggle on off coding, test generation, regulatory documentation, or for risk analysis. This type of feature toggles would allow safe and structured rollout. Second, you could have assist-only or suggest-only modes. These restricted modes would allow your AI to suggest improvements, propose texts, highlight risks, or generate apps, but not auto-write, not auto-merge, not auto-create risk controls, or auto-update any regulated artifacts. And this particular restricted mode ensures that human remains fully in control, which is a regulatory requirement. You could also have a project or workspace level AI restrictions scoped, where, for example, AI is allowed in development projects but prohibited in regulated spaces like QMS documents or risk registers, and limited AI access to specific workspaces, for example. This is important because regulated companies may need different AI policies depending on product, project, or risk class. And finally, guardrails that prevent high-risk actions. Your tool must technically prevent the AI from performing dangerous or disallowed actions. For example, there should be no auto-merging of code. Even if AI suggests changes, they must go through human code review. There should be no auto-editing of approved requirements. So once you have approved in control documents, there should be no more auto-editing. The approved items must be locked down. There should be no auto-generating risk controls, because risk controls determine patient safety. AI must never create them without human review. These guardrails are essential for both compliance and trust. The reason why incremental adoption must be designed into the AI tool is that if AI is too open, too autonomous, or all or nothing, regulated customers cannot safely deploy this. But if AI tool is modular, configurable, and adoptable in phases, regulated teams can confidently adopt AI at their own pace. And this makes your product easier to validate, easier to explain to auditors, safer to roll out across teams, and less risky for the development processes. So consider these steps to create a tool that is compliant and enterprise ready. Consideration number 6, regulated customers expect metrics. In regulated industries, teams cannot simply adopt AI because it seems helpful. They must demonstrate with objective evidence that the AI improves productivity or quality and does not introduce safety or compliance risks. For these organizations, adding an AI tool triggers internal controls, risk assessments, QMS updates, and sometimes notified body reviews. And that's why metrics are so important. Because if a tool provides these insights, regulated teams can easily justify their use. What the regulated teams typically must measure: lead times, how long does it take to produce requirements, tests, documentation, or code with versus without AI? Defect leakage, are AI-generated code snippets or requirements more or less error-prone? Test coverage, does AI increase or decrease coverage? Traceability completeness, acceptance and rejection rates of AI suggestions. That is a critical metric because you want to understand if, for example, if there's high rejection, the model probably isn't aligned with your work. If there is low rejection, there is a potential of overtrust and under review. So what can you do as an AI tool vendor? You can provide built-in usage analytics. Your AI tool should automatically measure number of AI suggestions generated, number of accepted versus rejected, user interaction times, common types of tasks. You could also provide acceptance rejection statistics, because that would help the regulated customer to see the trend charts showing improving or degrading AI performance and justification fields and acceptance rates by user. This helps prove that humans are actively reviewing AI outputs and that the AI tool is not introducing unmonitored risks. You could also support KPIs that map to regulated processes, where your tool allows customers to measure KPIs that matter to safety and compliance. For example, AI-generated test cases versus manual test cases. And finally, dashboards for audit evidence. Basically, if a customer has dashboards showing that this is how the AI tool behaves, here is how we control it, and here's the evidence that we monitor its performance, that will help them in audits as well. Although this level of analytics, or this metrics, is critical for regulated industries, it is also really helpful for other customer segments, because enterprise teams love data-driven insights. Providing metrics doesn't just make your tool compliant, it makes your tool sell better. And finally, the 7th consideration, safety-focused UX makes AI usable in regulated industries. UX is not cosmetic, it is a safety feature. Regulated users must always know which content is AI-generated and which is human-written, what was approved and what is still pending for approval, and they have to track the content that flows across the software development lifecycle. As an AI tool vendor, you can offer strong UX patterns, for example, labels on items on AI-generated and review required, for example, link to source documents and metadata showing model version and timestamps. There could be also traceability hooks, because AI tools must provide ways for regulated teams to trace where an AI-generated requirement has come from, which model generated a risk assessment, which AI output influenced a test case, and so on. Without these traceability hooks, your AI tool is unusable in many regulated environments. And finally, you must provide policy controls. The different policy controls are model restrictions, allowing customers to pick a specific model and not make automatic upgrades. There is a no train, no log mode, guaranteeing that AI never uses customer data for model training, fine-tuning, model improvement, dataset creation, or prompt logging. And organization-wide AI usages, where you allow your customer to configure AI access per project or per role, enforce approval workflows, disable certain AI features entirely if necessary, and enforce human review for safety-relevant artifacts. This is quite similar to GDPR settings or SSO enforcement, but for AI behavior. And the reason why regulated companies care about this is because auditors will ask them about how they ensure AI is safe and cannot modify safety-critical documentation or prevent unauthorized AI suggestions entering into the QMS. Having these features in your AI tool will allow your customers to maintain compliance inside your app. These were the 7 considerations that AI tool developers should have when they want the AI tool to be used in regulated industries. But let's be honest, most AI tools in software development today do not meet any of those 7 considerations or requirements. But can we afford to wait until something goes wrong, until a device malfunctions or a patient gets hurt, before we raise that bar? If you can't deliver all the 7 safeguards today, then focus on the first 3. Define the intended use clearly, support keeping humans in control, and document model version and behavior changes. These 3 are the foundation of trustworthy AI in regulated development. Do them right, and you are already far ahead of most AI tool developers on the market. Thank you so much for watching, and best of luck in developing AI tools that are also working for regulated industries. Thanks. Bye-bye.